Now to my ramblings. What I wanted to talk to you about was rather to continue what I started with the earlier video concerning writing, because I felt like I think I did not specify a whole lot of things about it. So just hope for the next few minutes I can say if you want to get your stuff out there and you want to publish, these are the steps that you need to follow. The most important thing, of course, number one is to write. Write. Don't stop writing. Don't think you'll only write when you have something. You see, the thing is with inspiration, and you would understand this, especially all writers would get this, that inspiration doesn't come all at once. And two, you are not always permanently inspired. Sometimes inspiration comes and sometimes it disappears for days, especially if you are set on writing on a specific topic, unless you are just rambling and just going to collect everything and put it together, and publish it. But if you want to write on a certain theme, for instance, if you want to write about black consciousness, although it's a very wide topic, but you also need to focus when you're talking about black consciousness in terms of the workplace, in terms of representation, in the church, decolonization and Black Lives Matter. Whether you want to write concerning to telling the whole world why Black Lives Matter, or you just want to be specific to black people that Lives Matter. Because eventually, Black Lives Matter should really start with black people. We should matter to people amongst ourselves before we tell everybody else that Black Lives. But that's another topic for altogether. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to write on a specific topic, keep on writing. Write every day. You can set out yourself every day, and especially during this lockdown, you can spare an hour or two every day. Have your breakfast. Whether you wanna exercise in the morning, after that, have your breakfast, and then just lock yourself with your laptop and just write. You don't have to write only when you have something. Just write. Just keep on writing. Write. So the first step is to write. Write all the time. Even if after this lockdown, after this, when life has gone back to whatever normal will be after that, even if you go out or you're at work or at school, come back, write. Don't stop writing. That's the first step. Second step, after you finish writing and you feel that you've said all that you wanted to say, and this is enough. And another thing, what I want to say about writing, never think it's enough. But of course, you have to come to a limitation. You can't write a 100-chapter book. You can set yourself, say, okay, I'm going to write 20 chapters or 15 chapters or 10 chapters, but make sure that they're palatable, something that you would also read. And after you've written, you take your manuscript. Preferably have two editors. You can have one editor who would look at the whole thing, who would put some grammar, because don't think that you know how to speak English, read and write English, that your English is perfect. Trust me, it is not. Have somebody look at your work, because there's a lot of repetitions that you would use. There are a lot of grammatical errors you would have, spelling errors you would have. Although, of course, if you're using Word, it will tell you things are not okay. But still, and another thing with technology, there are so many softwares out there that you can use that will help you with grammatical errors and everything, syntax and all those type of stuff. But still, take it to a human to look at it. They will look at your script, they'll correct you and everything. And then after you've done that, depending on who you are, so I'm assuming if you are black and you're writing, after your first edit has been done and you feel this is the final thing that you want to send out there, preferably go to a high school, your local high school. If you stay in the township, go to the high schools in the suburbs, in the burbs. This is what I did. Luckily, where I live, I have a high school which is just less than a kilometer away. So I went there, and then I found an English teacher. Fortunately, that English teacher had already also published, so it was easy for me to get to her. And so get an English teacher of high school. Why high school? Because they have a better command of English, because they deal with this on a daily basis. Get her or him to edit your manuscript. And after the first edit, there'll be the second edit. Now, if you feel that whatever you are writing, it's gonna be up for awards in the literature circles, then you can get a copy editor. The third copy editor is somebody who will make your words sparkle. They won't use just basic English, even though they're using basic English, but your words are just gonna sparkle, depending on your pocket. If you have copy editors, friends, you can have them look at you. Be prepared to pay. Nothing is free, so have them do it. And after you've done a copy editing, this is the third step. Third step, because now you have the structure of the book. Your book has been edited. It's good for human consumption. Now the third part, you get a graphic designer to design a cover for you. And then when you do that, hopefully you already have a title. So a title, but for me, I had a title long before I wrote the book, But then I had to change it because for something, and then I'll explain why I had to change my title 3 times. But once you have a title, first what you do is that you write to the National Library so that you can get your barcode, the ISBN number, that's what it's called. You write to them, you send them an email. It's easily obtainable over the internet. You Google the National Library of South Africa, and then there'll be a lady or a man, the email you send. You tell them the title of your book, the author, and then you ask for an ISBN number. Now, what does that do? Because it secures your book so that nobody in the world has the same title as you. So you do that. And then if they come back to you and tell you that, oh, your title, there's nobody with a title like that, then you secure it. It's free. Another thing you need to know, that an ISBN number is free. If somebody says pay something, they're scamming you. An ISBN number is free. So after you've gotten the ISBN number, then you can go to your graphic designer who would give them the title. Also, you give them the barcode of all those things you can do over the line. There are so many websites. It's so easy nowadays. You go over the line, you ask for a barcode, they'll give you, and then you put it. The graphic designer will be able to put the barcode where the ISBN number will be. Now, when you get a graphic designer, get somebody who has dealt with books, so that they also put your book in book format. They'll transfer it from Word, and then they'll put it in a Word format so that it is easily printable. And then they'll work with that, with the cover. And your cover, the most important thing, I know a lot of authors like to put their faces, depending on what they're writing on, as their cover. Now that's well and good, but what you want to do, you want the book to speak for itself without your face. That's what I've discovered. For me, I'm more willing, unless it's an autobiography, you have to put your face there. But if it's not an autobiography that you're writing, and you're just writing on a certain topic, have a good cover, a catchy color, so that whenever anybody's looking at it from the bookstore, they can look at it and they can buy it. Make sure your cover is attractive. So get the graphic designer, somebody who's worked at it. What my experience is that instead of getting somebody who's in the professional space of graphic design, I use a student, somebody who was semi-student, who's semi-professional. You know why I do that? Because I found that a student is still hungry. They'll give you their best work. Whereas when you find somebody professional, not that they won't give you something professional, it will be just professional. It won't be hungry. You want something that is hungry, that says, this is my best work, because they have to put it also in their portfolio. So get a student, preferably, if it's your first time, somebody who's at least a third-year student who's about to graduate. They will give you something very hungry, because they also want to use that for their own production. And then after that, you have to look for publishing if you're doing it by yourself. Now, or not publishing, printing. Now, printing, depending where you live in the world, in the country. Now, if you live in the city like Durban, Johannesburg, Cape Town, even Bloemfontein, you can easily, there are many printing shops. But after the COVID-19, things are going to be really bad for the publishing world, because a lot of business are going to close down because of the economy being stagnant as it is right now. So, but if you live in Joburg, in Cape Town, and cities, you can easily find a printing shop. And if you're doing it in bulk, it will be cheaper. So for all intents and purposes, you can budget close to 15 to 20,000, depending how many copies you want to have. The more copies you have, the cheaper it's going to be. For me, I printed 1,000 copies. So depending how your audience will be. And then before you even print, this is now the most difficult part. All that I've explained, it's something you can do in your laptop of your home, at home without going anywhere. But the third part, the last part, which is most important, even before your book goes on print, is PR. You need marketing. This is where it brings you out of your box. You need to go everywhere. You need to go to your local newspaper and promote your book. And mostly with local newspapers, they are always hungry for stories. They're always looking for feel-good stories, stories that will uplift the community. If one of them is doing something great, like writing a book, they want to do that. You go to your local radio station. They're also looking for stories. So you go there. If you know a lot of people, make sure this is now where your contacts come into place. If you know people in the media business, make sure you are pushing it. Push it everywhere. Tell everybody about it. People should crave for your book long before it comes out. People should be longing for it. You should do presentation when you go to schools. Make sure in schools you go there and give presentations about your book. If you are a church person, if this is a religious book, make sure you are in touch with not just people from your congregation, but congregations outside your church. You talk to pastors, you talk to elders, you tell them about your book, and you promote. And by promoting, the good thing about promoting is that people will get hungry for it. I remember my book, I started promoting it in 2016. Even long before I had a cover for it. There was no cover. There was nothing. It was just, I had the script. It was edited, but not finally, So wherever I was invited, whenever I was doing a lesson study in the end, I would throw it in there. I would teach about my book. So people were excited. They was like, man, we can't wait for it. This is a good book and everything. So make sure you touch. And the good thing about churches is that the network is very close. The church community in South Africa, it's one of the biggest. Although South Africa doesn't really have a lot of Christians, but within the movement, you can get 10,000 more plus people and that is also how you work with the leaders, church leaders. So make sure you are good with them, the elders and everybody. Now, once your book is printed, there'll be boxes coming to your house, loads and loads of boxes. Now, don't think it's also a discouraging work, especially if you're doing it by yourself, because the books are going to come to your house. They'll be there. Let's say you printed 1,000 copies. You will have close to 10 boxes in your house, 100 per box. They'll be there. Now, don't panic. The only thing you need to do, just work one box at a time. Now, once your books are there, you need to have them everywhere. If you have a car, have your books in your car. If you're a student, don't have a car, put them in your backpack. Make sure your book is everywhere. And also, what I did is that I apportioned when my book came out, where every day between Monday and Thursday, I would go house to house, door to door in my neighborhood, around the suburbs. I was just going there promoting it. They saw the author, they saw the book. It was easy to sell, because they'll see me, they'll ask me about it, they'll see my picture at the back, I would autograph it for them, they would pay on the spot, either e-wallet or something like that. So make sure, don't be afraid to go door to door, knock, tell people who you are, tell what you're selling. And people are encouraged by that, because if you tell them that they should come to your house and get the book, they will never come. But if you go to them with the book, they're going to come. So make sure, be willing to do hard work. Make appointment with local radios, and be prepared to give away some books. There'll be some people that you need to give away, especially when you go to schools. Have a box that that this box, you're probably not going to get much out of it. It's just going to be giveaway, and you give that away. Another thing which is going to happen, as soon as your book goes out, there'll be a time where there'll be a slump, where you won't be making sales. So if you're looking at your book as your only form and source of income, it's going to get tough. You know, there'll be times where people are no longer buying your book because something else would have come up. Their interest will be somewhere else. Someone that you know, somebody close to you within your community has released the book, so the interest will be there. But keep on pushing, you know. In South Africa, a bestseller sells 3,000 copies. That is 3 to 4,000 copies. That is under a publisher. So if you push 1,000 and people buy and you keep on pushing and you keep on pushing and you keep on pushing, you can sell more than 10,000. Just that you have to have networks. And the last part, reasonably priced. Now, it has been a known factor that if you want people to buy your books, price it with, for instance, if you say your book is $100, 100 rands, it is easier for somebody to part with 100 because it's a note. Rather than if you say your book is 199, where are people going to get the 99 rand from, you know, or 149? So make sure that you round whatever figure you have to the nearest tenth. So if you think your book is worth 99 rand, make it $100. If it's 149, make it 150. But preferably make it $100 so that it's easier for people to buy. So if somebody says, I've got $100, you know, you sell it. And then after some time, of course, reduce the price so that people can buy. Like if you go to a church and you tell them, okay, guys, my book is worth 150, but since I'm here, you know, I'm selling it for 100, and people are going to buy your book. The issue is, don't look at the financial thing about your book. Look at getting it out there. Make sure everybody has your book. Wherever you go, people should have your book. And by doing this, people are going to be interested and they want to buy more. And then as you're seeing the demand, if you finish your 1,000 copies within 2 months, you would have done amazing job. And then you can go for reprints and everything and made to order and everything. So, but anyway, it will be experience. You know, one of my experience about being a self-published author was that it got me out of my shell. See, I'm an introvert by nature. Yes, I do talk, but when I start talking in an environment where I'm close to people, once I get used to you, I start talking, you know. But it's rare that you find me, you know, being the life of the party. In fact, when there's a party, I'm at the background. So when you are an introvert like myself, you need to dig deep. You know, be willing to learn, be willing to listen to people, be willing to do all the hard work, be willing to go door to door. I know it's going to be humiliating at times when you go to your neighbor and they say they don't have money. Sometimes they won't even let you in. Things are going to be tough, but still push, you know, and ask for assistance. You know, talk to your elders if you're a church person, talk to your boss, talk to somebody, talk to your school, talk to your lecturer, let it be previewed and everything. And lastly, before I forget, I know this video is going on forever. The last part before I forget, in order to get your book to get traction, it will be very important, especially if you are not you're an unknown. You know, if you're a pastor, at least you have an audience somewhere. But if you're not a pastor or you're not a famous person, you need somebody to write you a preface. You know, somebody well-known, whether an author, a well-known personality, you know, and get somebody to review your book. You know, that you can do that even before it goes to print, so that you can put it at the back where your synopsis will be. So that when people say, man, I read this book, it changed my life, this is, you know, and all those stuff. Now, one thing I'll tell you about authors is that they're very narcissistic. Not in terms of their personalities or characters. They are narcissistic in terms of their work. They will never be willing to work with you if they think your work is junk. So make sure you write well. Because once they read at least a chapter, first chapter, if their chapter captures them, telling you, they'll be saying, okay, I can put my rubber stamp in it. But be willing to send out your work to other authors. You know, watermark it. Make sure you do it via email so that nobody can steal your work, because plagiarism is real out there. So that your work can be recognized. One thing I do know, that everybody got a story to tell. So one of the things that is important, and I'm passionate about it, is that make sure your work is out there. Make sure it's available on all platforms, digital and physical. And And yeah, and things are gonna go well. And wherever you go, make sure your book is with you. You know, make sure you also know your book as the back of your hand. You know, back of your hand. The thing is about me, once I write, I forget things. So this is just a story. I went to this church in Gauteng. So when I was there, I had launched the book somewhere, and then they got it there, and then they went to their church and everything. So I met this person. I had forgotten them, you know, because sometimes the memory is nonsense. So I met them, and they were telling me about the book. You know, they were asking me, so in chapter this, you wrote about this book, and I was like, you know, and I had kind of forgotten what I had written, you know. So it made me go back to the book and read it again, you know. So make sure you know your book, you know your work, so that when people ask you about it, and welcome criticism. Not everybody's gonna be happy about your book. Accept criticism. When people are criticizing your work, don't hate them. In fact, draw closer to them, because you don't want to be surrounded with people who agree with everything you write. You know, have opponents, academic opponents. Have people in the literal world who would oppose your work. That will make you better, you know. And you know, and also hope for the best. You know, some of the greatest bestsellers in the world, when they were written the first time around, they never made it. In fact, the first time, their first edition probably sold like 500 or even less than 500 copies, but they kept on rotating, they kept on working at it, you know, promoting it, and today those books have sold over 100 million copies or 100,000 copies. So never give up on your work. Keep on pushing it. Somebody's going to pick it up. Somebody's going to enjoy it. Somebody's going to be blessed with it. The most important thing for black writers out there is to keep writing. You know, keep writing. Don't think that you'll only write when you have a story. Write even today. Write about COVID-19. Because you see, 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to be telling our children about COVID-19. They would read, of course, the newspaper articles. But what would capture the moment is how people were living in this lockdown, you know. And so if your book talks about COVID-19, not from the medical perspective, but it talks just from the social human perspective, how they felt by being locked down in a house for 6, 8, whatever this lockdown is going to be, you know, they want to know what it was like. So people want to know that. That's what makes history important. When you hear somebody who's not famous, who's not popular, writing about a certain things. That's what also makes history books or history very important, is what you hear from the Joe on the street. So all the best with your writing, and I hope I've shared some insight on publishing and printing and all that, and all the best with your work. And I hope to read your book, whoever you are. Get in touch, and then we'll talk about it. So see you next time on another episode of Ramblings, because I ramble sometimes, and I think this is my therapy sometimes when I ramble. See you later. Bye bye.